This episode of the Creep Street Podcast is brought to you by Martini Coffee Roasters. You know, people always look at me weird when I say I start off every morning with a big old martini. But then I set them straight, and I tell them I'm talking about Martini Coffee Roasters coffee. A delicious coffee made by the Martini family. They roast their coffee using a traditional method of sight and sound to roast those little babies to perfection. And they also sell green coffee beans for those home roasters out there. And right now, fans of the Creep Street Podcast can get 20% off their entire order by using the code CREEPSTREET at martinicoffee.com. Once again, for 20% off your order, use the code CREEPSTREET at martinicoffee.com. Martini Coffee Roasters, the perfect coffee to keep you creeps caffeinated.
You've taken a wrong turn down Creep Street.
Citizens of the Milky Way, this is Maureen Bogey.
And this is Dylan Hackworth.
And you are listening to the Creep Street Podcast.
Ooh, sweet, savory. It's got a little of everything.
I mean, can you even believe it?
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, what a bargain. I love it. I love it. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here today.
Yes.
We so appreciate you joining us. If you want to be kept up on what we're up to, feel free to follow us on Instagram and TikTok.
Please.
At Creep Street Podcast. Twitter, we're at Creep Street Pod.
Look it up.
Look it up. Give it a look. I don't know. And then we also have a Facebook. And on our Facebook, we have a subgroup called Citizens of the Milky Way, a Creep Street fan page.
Woo!
That's just a little place where anyone can post memes, articles, stories, questions, ideas, anything like that, and anyone can chat and just have a good old time.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, that's Citizens of the Milky Way, a Creep Street fan page. Now, here's kind of what I'm thinking, is that we need to be upfront about what we offer.
Oh, please.
We need to be upfront. Like, I'm not about to gatekeep.
Spill the porridge, Maureen. Spill it.
We have a Patreon.
Baby, do we ever.
We do. And if you don't know what Patreon is, it's a freaking website and app, probably. And there we have all sorts of great bonus content for you all.
Oh, yes, we do.
We do have full Creep Street episodes on there, but not just that. We also have movie reviews, movie commentaries. We have short stories, different interviews, longer conversations.
Yes.
I mean, just lots of stuff on there.
Absolutely. It is a bounty.
Yes. So we recommend you check that out. Once again, that's at patreon.com. Give it a slash.
Yeah.
And then remember to type in Creep Street Podcast.
That's right.
Also, today, if you happen to be here in the Chicago area, you know we're at C2E2, baby.
Absolutely. We will be, when the day this episode comes out, we will be doing a live panel at Chicago's C2E2. This will be on Friday, March 31st, panel room S402 at 2:45 p.m. We are excited. We hope to see you there. We always love doing these shows, and we're thrilled to be returning.
Oh, it's going to be so fun. So last week, we took a swim.
Yeah.
We took a little bit of a dive. And it was, I mean, a lot of weird, crazy stuff going on at Lake Lanier.
Amen. Yes, there was. Very weird stuff.
Thank you to everyone who has listened already. If you haven't listened, we hope you do, at some point.
Absolutely.
No pressure. Of course. But, it's just an option. But thank you to everyone for your kind words about it. Thank you for listening. But Dylan, what are we even, talking about today? Do you know what I mean? I don't even know.
Today's going to be fun.
Okay.
Today is going to be fun because we are talking about Amusement Park Mysteries.
Wow. Whoa.
Yes.
I'm nervous about this, I'm going to be honest. This does give me a touch of anxiety, but I am excited.
Well, strap in as I give you my sources.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because today we're getting a double dose of Brent Swanser.
I mean, you got to do it.
My first article, The Haunted Amusement Park of Shawnee Lake by Brent Swanser at Mysterious Universe, and then The Mysterious Haunted State Fair of Minnesota by Brent Swanser. Now, listen, this is going to be a type of episode, kind of like Ritual Games. In the future, we'll do Amusement Park Mysteries too.
Right.
This is kind of a genre that I wanted to kind of nail down here on Creep Street. So amusement park, I'm also including fairs, carnivals, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I see that.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same family.
Absolutely. It's
In
a
my
place where we
opinion.
convene to have a good time. And Maureen, spring is finally here, at least in the northern hemisphere.
I mean, kind of. It's still cold as my ass.
Still cold here in Chicago, but it is spring. And of course, that means people are going out and having more fun.
Getting out there. You gotta put yourself out there. That's what you just gotta do.
One of the most popular things to do when the weather gets nice is to, go to an amusement park, a carnival, a fair, all that sort of stuff.
I mean, give me a county fair any day.
Any day of the
Any
week.
day, and I'm there. I'm eating fudge.
Of course, when you think of these places, you think of excitement and tasty foods, fun memories. But of course, we know bad things can happen too in places such as these. In a lot of ways, I feel there's a sort of duality to these places that is very similar to the way we look at clowns. Clowns, in the right context, can be fun, charming entertainment. But a clown out of place automatically just kind of creeps you out.
Very true. Very true.
Likewise, there's something about the happy facade of places like amusement parks and carnivals that make one wonder what lurks beneath the surface. The setting alone is enough to send shivers down one's spine. Consider coming across an abandoned amusement park, a place once meant as a place of fun and happiness, but now stands silent and alone. It's the juxtaposition, much like what we said about clowns, that makes it so creepy.
And it does remind me a little bit, too, of the kind of feeling of, like, being neither here nor there.
Absolutely.
Which also really kind of lines up with paranormal activity or just, the weird, the strange.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just having that duality, I think that really means a lot.
Well, let's start in a place that is no stranger to the unexplained, West Virginia.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Located there in Mercer County, not far from the town of Princeton, which is an area we've covered before with other stories. Well, it's here you will find an abandoned amusement park considered by many to be, quote, the scariest amusement park in the world, and among one of the most haunted and feared locations in the United States. But long before the park was abandoned, and long before the park was even there, the land on which it stands has had a dark history dating back centuries.
Oh, okay. All right.
This area had long belonged to the native Shawnee tribe, and the archaeologists who have worked here have estimated that there are over 3,000 bodies that were buried here. It was a burial ground.
Oh,
now,
God.
I know this is, like we always say, there's that cliche of a
Yeah.
Native American burial ground. It's kind of, especially in like Hollywood tropes and stuff,
Yeah.
it's kind of a cliche. I would think building on top of anyone's.
Right, exactly.
That's the thing. For some reason, the Native American aspect, we think it gives it more mystique, but it's like,
exactly.
you wouldn't want to desecrate anyone's fucking grave.
Exactly. I think, yeah, exactly. The issue is just when people are like, oh, it's a native burial ground, so that
Right.
means it's like they're even more like ethereal and like otherworldly and
Yeah.
like can cast curses and shit. And it's like, we're not saying that. We're
Right.
just saying that it's a bunch of graves.
Right.
Of any, person.
Right. It's probably not a good idea to fuck with any grave.
Right,
So
right,
that's
right.
that's just what we're trying to say.
That's what we're popping off with here.
But yeah, so they believe upwards of 3,000 bodies had been buried in this area. So a lot. But it certainly doesn't stop there. Way back in 1775, the Clay family, a family of white settlers, came to this remote area and happened to settle right here where the burial ground was. The Clay family consisted of husband and wife Mitchell and Phoebe, along with their 3 children, Bartley, Tabitha, and Ezekiel. Whether the family was aware that this was a sacred burial ground or not,
we don't know, but the Shawnee people were not pleased that these strangers were settling in a place so sacred to them. On top of that, the Clay family were some of the first white folks that the Shawnee tribe had encountered. So that was probably an additional, like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, a lot is going on.
The Shawnee tribe warned the family that they needed to leave and warned them several times. Yet the Clay family refused to back down. That was when things got ugly a few years later in August of 1883. Mitchell, the father, was out that day hunting when some of the Shawnee tribe came upon the Clay family home. Bartley, the youngest of the children, was out working in the fields, and he was killed by members of the Shawnee tribe, after which they took his scalp.
Ooh.
Next, they chased down the middle child, Tabitha, stabbing her to death. The eldest son, Ezekiel, was kidnapped and forcefully taken from his home, where he was later burned at the stake.
Oh, God.
When Mitchell and Phoebe returned home to find their children slaughtered, they were in absolute horror. Mad with rage, Mitchell Clay rounded up a posse and led a brutal assault, murdering several Shawnee people in retaliation. The entire thing was so awful that white settlers would outright avoid the place altogether for years and years afterward. Well, almost a century and a half goes by when in 1926, the land where the Clay family home once stood was purchased by an affluent entrepreneur named Conley T. Snidow. Well, it's unsure if Snidow was aware that the place was once a sacred burial ground or that it was the site of a bloody massacre, but either way, he had big plans for the land. You see, the once remote area was quickly becoming densely populated by coal miners and their families who had moved to the area for work. Snidow envisioned building an amusement park on the land that would serve as entertainment for the miners and their families, not to mention to line his pockets as well. The project started out modestly. The park contained a few simple attractions, such as a Ferris wheel and some swing sets and a pond for swimming. But as the decades passed, the park was ever expanding. By the 1950s, there were bumper cars, paddle boats for the pond, even a freaking roller coaster.
Oh, okay.
The vast majority of the patrons who visited the place were completely unaware of the land's bloody history. However, tragedy was not far off.
Oh, no. Oh, God, I'm worried.
Oh, my gosh. So here you go. It's bad. This is what happens when you forget history.
Oh, no.
You know what they say? I mean, this is what happens.
Oh, fuck.
The first death came in the 1950s. A young girl was busy riding on the park's circular swing, and unfortunately, a careless driver backed a truck right up into the path of the fast-moving circular swing. The poor girl collided with the truck at great force, killing her.
Oh my God.
The next death. I know, how awful is that? Backing a truck up. Ridiculous.
How did that even happen?
The next death came in 1966 when an 11-year-old boy went missing and presumably drowned in the park's pond.
Oh, God.
These fears were confirmed when the boy's body was found over a week later. He had drowned when his arm got caught in a drainage pipe.
Oh, wow. What the fuck?
There were other deaths as well, one of which was a man who jumped to his death from the top of the Ferris wheel. It's said that in all 6 people had died at the park, but it was the boy who drowned in 1966 that closed the park for good.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you gotta say,
fuck it.
You gotta say, I think the stats, the numbers are going against us.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is literally the complete opposite of what we're going for.
Yeah.
This is so scary to me, this idea, because I always think about this whenever I go on a roller coaster or something. Yeah. Because I like roller coasters, but I'm also kind of like, what if my seatbelt doesn't work?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm nervous. Oh, God.
As the years passed by after the park closed in '66, the attractions of the park obviously fell into disrepair, and the park as a whole was sort of taken back by nature. In 1985, the park was bought and briefly owned by a man named Gaylord White, who had hopes of reopening the park. But given the tragic history of the place, it failed to draw an audience, and after just 3 years, the park closed again. This time, to be converted into a campground and fishing pond. Well, Given the history we now know about the place, it's no surprise that the land has long been believed to be haunted, of course.
Oh, yeah.
So we already said we have this place that's kind of neither here nor there. Angie got the pond with water. I mean, god dang, you got burial grounds, tragic accidents, massacres. I mean, ugly stuff.
And it's also just in West Virginia, which is
And West Virginia just has a unique paranormal aspect to it, which we enjoy. We're not we love. It's interesting.
We're into it. Obviously, it's a positive comment, but it's just like it is just what it is.
Well, when visiting this now abandoned park, folks will often report the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes and even followed by some sort of presence. People will report sudden, unexpected panic attacks and feelings of dread. Some claim to have even felt the touch of disembodied hands on their shoulders, as well as the feeling of being tapped or even pushed. It's also very common to see objects move on their own, and of course, shadowy figures lurking amongst the towering, hulking bodies of the former amusement park rides and attractions. Often, as you can imagine, when there's a breeze, the rusted old metal structures, even the swings, of course, they will creak.
Oh, yeah.
The wind, and it kind of adds to the eerie atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
But what's even freakier is that it's said that even when there's no wind at all, one may happen to find one of the swings swinging back and forth as if someone were in it.
Damn.
The huge metal facades of the former attractions will creak, and when you look, you could almost swear you saw a shadowy figure ducking out of sight. There's often reported orbs of light as well, and on top of that, many claim to have witnessed the ghostly apparitions of children running through the park. You'll catch sight of them for a moment, ducking out of sight behind one of the rusted structures, only for there to be no one there when you go check.
Okay.
Strange sounds are very common, too, because even if you don't see any specters, you almost certainly will hear something. These include the sounds of children laughing, disembodied whispers, even the sound of voices speaking in the native language of the Shawnee.
Oh.
People will claim to hear a scream directly behind them, like someone walked up to the back of your head and screamed, only to suddenly turn around and there to be no one there.
Oh, that's so scary.
That's freaky.
I mean, it's like, I'm just getting the impression that maybe that thing, like, whatever just goes up behind your head and screams, is just trying to scare you, to use you.
Absolutely.
To use that energy.
It's that fear bong method.
The fear bong. We haven't talked about the fear bong in a while, but it's real.
Bring back the fear bong.
We need to bring it back. And if you don't remember what a fear bong is, it's the idea that, like, some of these entities or ghosts or demons or whatever you want to call them, in all different types of things, of guys, of homies, that they scare us or cause fear.
True.
Because they feed off of our fear.
Absolutely.
Therefore, our fear within us is that sweet, sweet kush.
Yeah, it's like that. Yes, it's that bud.
The fear is the bud. We are the damn bong.
Yeah, and they're just sucking on it.
And they're sucking on it.
And the question is, are you an indica or a sativa? Are you a hybrid?
Or are you a hybrid? What's
now
your
we're just
deal?
getting into personality. Maybe that's like the Enneagram test, the Enneagram or whatever it's called. Or your like star sign, your zodiac sign. Maybe are you an indica, a sativa, a hybrid?
Oh, I'm an indica, like for sure.
Probably, yeah. I would say so.
sure.
Me too, probably.
I want to be a sativa.
We might be a little bit of a hybrid.
Maybe a bit of a brid. That never hurt anybody. But anyway, that's what we're talking about when we say fear bong. And I feel like...
It's good we brought it back and we reinstated it.
Yeah, because I think it works. No, and it needs to be trademark.
I know, we need to
copyright.
put that on a t-shirt and sell it. Fear bong.
God. That's what I think might be happening here a little bit.
I think so. And of course, folks who take photos of the area will often later be surprised to see ghostly apparitions in them that they didn't see when they were taking the photos.
Yeah.
EVPs are often captured at the site of the old amusement park. An investigator named Polly Gear was out with her team there collecting evidence. They were recording EVPs, and Polly knocked on the side of an abandoned trailer, and they clearly captured a gruff voice saying,
"Please leave."
Ooh.
Another was recorded by the swing sets near the Ferris wheel, and it sounds almost like two people talking. You can hear one voice say,
"No."
followed by another voice sort of mumbling. It's soon followed by a crystal clear voice of a young girl saying,
"Won't talk."
Another captures what might be that same voice saying,
"I want to swing."
or,
"I'm on a swing."
Okay. I mean, it's good to be self-aware. It's good to be self-aware. It's
I'm on
good
a
to know
swing.
that you are on a swing.
good. I mean, yeah, as you may have guessed, evidence seems to suggest that the supernatural activity is most active around these swing sets. Visitors will report the swings, of course, moving on their own, even when there's no wind, like we said. But
Right.
here's what's wild. They've even been witnessed twisting themselves around and then rapidly unwinding. Do you remember as a kid, you would sit in a swing and
Oh, yeah.
instead of going back and forth, you would kind of sit where you were and spin?
Oh, yeah.
Until the chains got real tight, and then,
And then
you'd
you let
lift your
go,
legs
and
up
then-
and
yeah.
you'd spin back around.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
almost like there's someone you can't see sitting in the swing doing that. It'll
Ooh.
curl up and then unravel.
That's crazy because you can kind of trick yourself a little bit if they're swinging the way that just like swing.
Exactly.
You can be like,
Exactly.
maybe there's a little wind. Even though you know there's not wind, you can still kind of be like, it's just the wind.
Exactly.
But then when you see that, you're like, how is this happening?
You're right. And of course, there are the classic cold spots and chills.
Oh, yeah.
Many photos have captured what appears to be the ghostly specter of a young girl in a pink dress stained with blood,
Oh.
either on or near the swings. Many believe that this is the ghost of the young girl who died when her swing collided with that truck.
Oh, boy.
The current owner of the land claims to have encountered this entity on many occasions, claiming that once he even made eye contact with the ghost of this little girl, and when he did, it was like he froze in place, like he couldn't move. He was even featured in a Travel Channel program that did a feature on the place, and here's a quote of his from that special.
Sometimes the seat will start to move or sway underneath your hand until you feel cold air blowing through the seat. And when you get to the middle, you feel something warm, and we believe that's her spirit.
But the swing sets are not the only focus of the paranormal activity. Many strange things have been observed around the old Ferris wheel as well.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yes. Obviously, this Ferris wheel has not rotated a single inch in many, many years. The seat that stands at about the 9 o'clock position,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
9, yeah, that's how the source described it. So it's kind of, like the 9 o'clock position is oftentimes people will claim seeing a shadowy figure sitting in that cabin or that seat, almost like they're waiting for it to continue moving. Many have claimed to see what looks like a living man, not a ghost, throw himself from the very top seat of the Ferris wheel.
Oh, God.
When folks see this, the apparition looks so real that they think it's a real person
Right.
attempting to kill themselves. So they'll run over to this person's aid and find that there's no one there.
What?
Of course, many believe that this is the ghost of the man who jumped to his death from the top of the Ferris wheel many years before.
Yeah.
Maybe this sounds like a residual haunting to me. In fact, a lot of things we'll talk
Oh, yeah.
about in today's stuff sounds like what we would consider a residual haunting, like it's a repeat, a
Right.
replay. Like maybe they're not even conscious they're there. It's almost like a repeat of energy, just like a clip playing over and over.
And I mean, it makes sense because you have really unique, high energy moments at places like this.
Absolutely.
Just physically up in your dang body. Like your adrenaline is pumping.
Yes.
I'm sure other things are going on. I didn't excel in science.
That's okay.
I'm big enough to say that.
It's
big enough to
okay.
say. So I don't really know everything that's going on, but I know at least your adrenaline is pumping. And
Absolutely.
so maybe that because of that and these intense energies.
Yeah.
That's why they're kind of still here.
Absolutely. That's a great, I think that's a great observation. Well, the pond still exists today, though it's mostly a drained pool of mud. Visitors still claim to see shadowy figures gliding beneath the surface of the water,
Ooh.
as well as seeing something in the corner of their eye duck underwater before they have a chance to really get a look at it.
No.
But the ripples on the water's surface indicate that something is moving beneath the surface.
This is my nightmare.
Others have reported the feeling of hands pulling on them, trying to pull them below the surface.
No.
It's even said that the ghost of a Native American is often seen slowly pacing near where the old concession stands once stood. Now, many have wondered, obviously, why would the ghost of a Native American be drawn to the concession area, but I think, obviously, it's possible that this spirit was something that was there long before
Right.
the park was, and just the proximity of the concession stands just happens to be a coincidence.
Yeah.
Maybe that is also a residual haunting of something that happened prior to the park, and it just happens to be close to the concession stand. Like, I don't think
see that, yeah.
I don't think he's there trying to buy a fucking hot dog.
No, I don't get that vibe. Even though if he were to do that,
He'd be entitled to it.
he would be welcome. I would
him a
be
brat.
so excited by that.
Absolutely.
To know that you can buy a funnel cake
Oh,
post life.
He would have fucking loved funnel cake.
I mean, that's huge. But unfortunately, I think it's probably not as exciting as, eating funnel cake in the afterlife. I think you're right. It was probably just a coincidence that it was, these things were happening in the same place.
Oh, yeah. Well, today, the abandoned Shawnee Amusement Park is a popular destination for ghost hunters and thrill seekers.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been featured on countless paranormal television programs, including ABC's Scariest Places on Earth, Discovery Channel's Ghost Lab, and National Geographic's The Watch. Apparently, even the skeptics working on the crews of these shows have come away true believers when going to Shawnee Amusement Park.
I believe it.
In 2005, while ABC was filming its episode of Scariest Places on Earth, the crew refused to enter the area at night because they claimed to have heard what sounded like phantom drums and voices chanting, filling them with a sense of dread. They felt the drums and chants were a warning to stay off the land. But keep in mind, it isn't actually easy to visit the site of this abandoned amusement park. Ghosts aside, the place is obviously one big fucking safety hazard, as you can imagine.
Oh my God.
So, access is gated off for most of the year, but every year from October 25th to the 31st, Halloween, the owners hold an event called the Dark Carnival,
hell yeah.
which features ghost tours and supervised exploration of the grounds. But there is, if you want to visit, there is like camping stuff around, like the lake is still there. You just can't go where the rides and shit are.
Right.
But the area, so you can still go to the area though and get your taste of something creepy.
Oh yeah, this is very interesting to me. Wow.
Now,
Okay.
let's head on up from West Virginia to Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk about the Minnesota State Fair.
Oh, okay. I've heard a lot about the Minnesota State Fair. People go crazy for it.
Yeah.
Like, I think more so than other states.
I think so, because it is the largest state fair in the country by average daily attendance and the second largest in the country in terms of total attendance, and is often referred to as, quote, the Great Minnesota Get-Together.
Okay, I love that.
Sounds charming.
Okay.
The fair is held annually for 12 days from late August up to Labor Day. The state fairgrounds are also known as the Ramsey County Poor Farm, and it's located in the town of Falcon Heights, not far from the St. Paul campus of Minnesota University. The land itself spans 322 acres. In 2018, the fair reported an attendance of 2,046,533 people, and 270,426 of those folks attended in one single day.
Oh my God.
So this is a big state fair, and people come in from all over. Like you said, it's a well-known one.
Oh yeah. Apparently a lot of good milk.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. God, I'm sure there's great milk.
Oh yeah. I was just in Minnesota with Second City,
Yes.
touring around doing shows.
I was too. I
and
was up in St. Cloud, yeah.
I was in Red Wing. I was in Brainerd. I mean, God damn it, we were having a great time.
We were? Well, the first state fair that was held at this location happened back on September 7th, 1885. And the site was chosen for its convenient location nestled between the towns of Minneapolis and St. Paul. And while the fair now has many modern rides, it still operates some of its early attractions. One ride in particular that is still in operation there at the fair is called Ye Old Mill and has been in operation since 1915.
Whoa.
The fair was also the site where President Theodore Roosevelt uttered the famous words,
Speak softly and carry a big stick.
All right. We have fun.
hey, and side note, apparently DiCaprio is going to be playing Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, we love.
That'll be interesting. I think that'll
Okay.
be fun.
Huh.
But for all the fun and entertainment available at the Minnesota State Fair, it is also said to be the site of some very dark and tragic accidents.
Oh, no.
The part of the fair with the darkest history belongs to the State Fair grandstand. Now, like at many fairs, even in like the local county fair from where I'm from, there's a racetrack.
Oh, yeah.
And they race everything from cars to dirt bikes. They have stunt professionals and like demolition derbies, all that stuff.
Oh, I mean, that part of the county fair,
It's wild, baby.
It's good.
It's
And
fun. It's cool watching folks catch like 20 feet of air on a dirt bike. I will say, it's fucking fun.
you know it's good because they put up some like fencing around it
Oh, yeah.
so that you have to pay to watch that section.
Yeah.
Like you can't just kind of peek in.
Well, throughout the fair's history, 8 of these stunt performers have died attempting their stunts in front of live crowds.
Oh my God.
One famous stunt performer to die here was a woman named Kitty Middleton. She was most known for what is called wing walking. As the plane is flying, she would walk out onto the wing as a stunt. That was one of the things she was most known for. Well, in 1951, she died when the entire plane went down, crashing right beside the fair's racetrack.
Oh God.
Folks familiar with these old stunt performers claim that their spirits are often spotted sitting in the stands watching a show that apparently only they can see. When a person looks back a moment later, of course, they're gone and the stands are empty. There's one in particular who's often spotted by a small building located behind the grandstand known as the bunker, a blonde man that witnesses say is a former stuntman who is suiting up for his next ride. That to me sounds like a residual haunting.
Yes.
They said it looks like he's suiting up, getting ready to do his turn, his thing. That to me feels residual.
I agree. Very interesting though, and it makes sense. Once again, high emotions, a big time in your life, makes sense.
Absolutely.
That there would be,
Absolutely.
a lot of energy in that moment.
For sure. Well, another haunting at the park revolves around its eldest ride, the one we mentioned earlier, the Ye Old Mill.
Oh no.
This is how the ride itself works. Riders board and are seated in a small boat, and this boat winds its way along a waterway going through various dark tunnels, and inside these tunnels are various staged fairy tale scenes that feature animatronic characters and happy children's music. It's very reminiscent of like the It's a Small World ride at like Disneyland, very much like that. The main specter said to haunt this ride is the ghost of one Wayne Murray, who worked as a maintenance man at the park until his death in 1986. After he passed, folks riding the Ye Old Mill began reporting the feeling of being poked or nudged by an unseen hand. Many report a feeling that even when sitting in one of the boats alone, they have the feeling of someone with them. They will even report the sound of whispering and mumbling coming from someone right next to them who they can't see. And keep in mind, we are talking late August, early September, so it's still hot out.
Yeah.
Yet folks often report strange, unnatural cold spells when on the ride. Some have even reported that when traveling through the ride's dark tunnels, an eerie illuminated face will appear in the dark.
Ooh.
But perhaps strangest of all, folks report that every year, on the same day, a large brown bird flies into the tunnel of the ride, but never comes out. Yet, when searching the ride, there's no sign of the bird. Many think that this may be the spirit of Murray returning to the ride every year. Maybe it takes the form of some sort of a bird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Interesting.
Very interesting, right?
Huh. Okay.
Here's something very interesting. Folks will often report seeing ghosts that almost appear to be playing out a scene. Almost like they're being projected onto a screen, but only to vanish a moment later. Carrie Huber is an archivist for the Minnesota State Fair, and she's witnessed these phantom scenes. Here's what she said about one specific incident.
A man who has worked at the Coliseum was playing some music in the cattle barn. There was nobody around, but all of a sudden, he saw 3 people dancing. One was in overalls. I think all of our ghosts anywhere at the State Fair are good folks. I mean, they're at the fair. You have to have fun, right?
Obviously, this sounds like residual hauntings, but almost
Yeah.
interesting that it almost seems like a projection.
Very, very interesting. And I do love that this person, at the end of the day, is just trying to have a good time.
Amen.
And wants to remind everyone to say, hey, if these people, these folks, if they were at the fair, then they were in a good mood.
Absolutely.
And they could hang. So therefore, they're good ghosts, and I kind of agree.
Absolutely. But that's not all. Huber also claims that the fair's administration building is haunted by a man named Douglas Baldwin. Baldwin was the general manager for the Minnesota State Fair for many decades and passed away in 1962. But animal ghosts are often reported as well. Everything from ghost dogs, cows, and even crows have been seen on the fairgrounds. But the most famous of these is a phantom pig who is most often seen around the old pig barn.
Are you serious?
Not kidding at all. It seems his behavior is very casual, as if it's just sniffing around looking for something like food or whatever. But of course, in the blink of an eye, the phantom pig will vanish.
Wow.
Paranormal researcher Chad Lewis had this to say about the phantom pig.
Many people have contacted me because they think they see a pig, but when they turn, it disappears. Legend is you will not be able to take a photo of this phantom pig. It's always been my theory that the Midwest is the weirdest place in the country.
I mean, it kind of is. I do think I agree with that. Like, the Midwest really does have so much weird shit going on.
Absolutely.
And the Midwest is also kind of a little bit of the neither here nor there.
Very true.
Especially because the Midwest is actually kind of east. It's not really in the middle of the damn country.
It kind of isn't, you're right.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting place, and so much weird stuff happens around here.
Yeah, but yeah, very fascinating. I'd never thought about that as the Midwest as but yeah.
I see it. But yeah, those are all, I mean, just the thought of all of this stuff happening. It's just, like we said, it's the highest highs and the lowest lows.
Right.
You're having a great time, and then a horrible accident happens.
Yes. In fact, how this episode came to be was I started researching roller coaster disasters. Mm-hmm. And it kind of just morphed into more like amusement park thing, because believe me, there have been many roller coasters disasters. That's something we'll cover more specifically in another episode, but I just wanted to tack something on here at the end. This is from HowStuffWorks.com, an article called 13 Deadliest Roller Coaster Accidents by Charisse Threewitt and Clint Pumphrey. I'll just go ahead and read what's considered to be number one, and I'm just going to read this directly because it's a shorter blurb, but I just thought this was interesting, and so even though this is more specific to one tragedy, I just kind of wanted to add this on here. But this happened in 1972 at Battersea Park in London, England, and the ride was called the Big Dipper.
In 1972, Battersea Park in London, England was the scene of what's widely considered the worst roller coaster disaster in history. The ride was the Big Dipper, a 3-car wooden roller coaster built in 1951 as the main attraction for the park's new fun fair. It was hugely popular, comparable to today's iconic London Eye, but the coaster experienced problems from the beginning. In May 1951, an empty car derailed and knocked over a protective railing, stranding passengers in the other cars. Disaster struck again in 1968 when another crash gave a woman a broken arm. But by far the worst accident occurred at the Big Dipper in the late afternoon of May 30th, 1972. That's when 31 people climbed aboard, and as the lift chain prematurely released at the top of the first incline, the cars plummeted backward down the hill and into a turn. The train derailed, killing 5 children.
Oh, God.
And injuring 13 others. In the aftermath of the tragic accident, the park manager and the coaster's engineers were charged with manslaughter, though they were cleared at trial. But the accident was the beginning of the end for the coaster and the park. The Big Dipper was closed and demolished soon after, and the fun fair shut its doors in 1974.
So that's just a little taste of that.
And I mean, a lot of this does remind me a little bit of a great documentary.
Yeah.
Called Class Action Park.
It's been a while since I'm glad you brought that up. I had forgotten. We watched that documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Was it on HBO Max? Where did we watch that?
I think it was on HBO.
I think it was HBO Max.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because there was a lot of like well-known people, like comedians and stuff, who had been there, because they were from the area, they were from the East Coast, and they had been there. But this park, I mean, go ahead and explain it, but this park was just notorious for being fucking dangerous.
We're like super dangerous, and
Yeah.
like it's just a very like it's one of those places where it's like you went like if you were kind of like you were ready to like be a little hard, you know,
yeah.
like you were gonna be a little tough.
It was
like,
dangerous.
Like that is where you went to like have fun and to like,
Absolutely.
to get crazy.
Get in a little trouble.
So I think whenever we do a part 2 of this, we'll dive into that a little bit too, because
that's a very interesting documentary, because there's parts of it that are obviously tragic, but there's also parts that are kind of funny. Just how goofy some of the like rides were, like, and some of the, like where it was just like asking for something bad to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
There's parts where it's almost like comedic, like how silly like the designs were and stuff. It's very fascinating documentary. Yeah.
The engineering negligent.
Absolutely.
But the park was called Action Park.
Action Park.
So
but
if you've ever been there, let us know.
Yeah, it was
And
Action Park. Yeah. I love the title Class Action Park. That's perfect. But folks, that is going to wrap it up for Amusement Park Mysteries.
Dang, a lot of crazy, weird stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Going on at these dang amusement parks.
That's true. And you know what, Maureen?
What?
I got a list of names I wouldn't mind getting on a Ferris wheel with.
Okay, pop off.
Folks, give it up for our top-tier Patreon subscribers. Of course, the Dream James Watkins, the Finnish Face Via Lundqvist, the Madman Marcus Hall, the Vivacious Vicky McHugh, the Tenacious Teresa Hackworth, the Heartbreak Kid Chris Hackworth, the oh-so-suave Sean Richardson, the British Bonebreaker Bex Martin, the Notorious Nicholas Barker, the Terrifying Taylor Lashmet, the Count of Cool Cameron Corliss, the Archduke of Attitude Adam Archer, the Sinister Sam Kiker, the Nightmare New Zealand Noeline Vivilli, the Loathsome Johnny Love, the Carnivorous Kevin Bogey, the Killer Stud Carl Staub, the Firestarter Heather Carter, the Conqueror Christopher Damian Damaris, the Awfully Awesome Annie, the Murderous Maggie Leach, the Sir of Sexy Sam Hackworth, the Evil Elizabeth Riley, Lauren Hellfire Hernandez Lopez, the Maniacal Laura Maynard, the Vicious Karen Van Buren, the Arch Nemesis Aaron Bird, the Sadistic Sergio Castillo, the Rapscallion Ryan Crum, the Beast Benjamin Huang, the Devilish Chris Doucette, the Psycho Sam, the Electric Emily Zhang, the Ghoulish Gerd Hankum, the Renegade Corey Ramos, the Crazed Carlos, the Antagonist Andrew Park, the Monstrous Michaela Schur, the Witchy Wanda J.P. Weimer, and the Freaky Ben Forsyth.
Whoa, that got crazy.
Yes, it did. Dang.
And I loved it. Thank you so much to our top-tier Patreon subscribers. We're so grateful for you. Thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers, no matter what tier you are. We
Absolutely.
love you. We love all tiers.
Ooh, God, we love you.
Big time. And here's the thing. We also love you all for listening.
Yeah, even if you're not, it's okay. We just love that you're here. We love this Creep Street community, baby.
It's just great. We love it. It's been great. Please reach out to us at any time on any of our socials, or you can email us at creepstreetpodcast@gmail.com if you have any personal, scary stories, if you, anything like that. We always want to hear about it. If you have any ideas about, or thoughts on our past episode.
Oh, yes.
Or if you have, episode suggestions for us, we want to know. And please remember to like, rate, subscribe, post about us on social media, anything like that. These ratings and all that stuff. You wouldn't believe it, but it really makes a difference. And, seeing those 5-star reviews is just so nice. And we really, really appreciate it. And so if you have the time and you want to do it, do it.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
I'm Maureen Bogey.
Good night and goodbye.
Bye.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay.